Please listen to me carefully. Can you hear it? The distant, slow symphony of crashes and dives. Tectonic plates, in their eternal dance of collision and separation, sculpted me into a cradle of life. The Kuroshio current flows through me, gently kisses my surface, bestowing heat, nutrients, and the essence of life. Eons ago, upon the grand stage of Earth, I began to take form. The passage of time is etched in the rhythm of tides and the descent of the sun. I cannot measure the countless tides that have risen and fallen, nor the sunsets that have graced my horizon, as life gradually stirred within me. I witnessed the flourishing of seaweeds, the slow growth of corals. Fish first appeared in my sight, thousands of them, gliding through the clear waters, weaving countless scenes of wonder. Those tiny creatures, twinkling like stars, vibrant reefs blossomed into havens of life, heralded the richness of life's blossoming. Within me, time seemed to stretch endlessly, as if the world's most beautiful moments had found a way to linger. As the years flowed by, I began to sense the presence of humanity. One morning, I heard a melody drifting from the land, a song and sacred chants from Shuri Castle, steeped in reverence and solemnity. The castle, standing proudly on the nearby shore, marked the birth of a kingdom, and I became part of its realm. The lingering strains of string music, resonating with the breath of the earth, echoed through the walls of Shuri Castle, harmonizing with the whispers of the sea breeze and the rhythm of the waves. An ancient and benevolent people, through her, offered prayers for enduring prosperity and flourishing. She is one of the few friends I have left. As time flowed onward, ships laden with treasures from distant lands, gliding across my body. Under the sun, the shimmering waters mirrored their sails, while the air was suffused with the aroma of exotic spices from south to north, from east to west. These vessels ventured into the unknown, carrying the hopes and dreams of their people. The Bridge of Nations spirit of the Ryukyu Kingdom transformed these waters into a conduit for cultural exchange. Within me flowed the wisdom and wealth from every corner of the world. Yet I have witnessed the rise and fall of dynasties, the abolition of domains, and the annexation by the Satsuma domain. The Bridge of Nations became a mask for greed, exploited by colonizers and merchants. The once bustling roads grew silent. Ancient cultures eroded, and the lands of warm-hearted people struggled to survive amidst the turmoil. Life's cycle of birth and decay continued, but the good people never ceased to softly play the Tanchamebushi. Time, relentless in its march, brought dark shadows ever closer. But before they could engulf everything, I stood silently, patiently waiting. She asked me, "Do you remember what happened?" "I don't remember." "Then why are you weeping?" "I don't know."
In the spring of 1945, the Pacific Theater entered a decisive phase. The goal of the United States military was to capture Okinawa to pave the way for the imminent invasion of the Japanese mainland.
Okinawa Jima was the scene of the last great battle of the Pacific War. The capital and nucleus of the bead-like Ryukyu chain, Okinawa was only 495 miles from the coast of China, 380 miles from Formosa, and 415 miles from Kyushu. It screened the East China Sea, insulated the teeming coastal cities of China, and it was the lock on Japan's southern door.
With Okinawa in our hands,
Massive bombers,
we could control the China coast,
messengers of
send
disaster,
swarms of flames to smother Japan.
like dark clouds obscuring the sky, circled above me. And bombs tore through my tranquil surface and shattered everything I cherished. The entire world seemed shrouded in fear, and my heart nearly ceased its beat amidst the relentless roar. Our 32nd Army's wartime command post, constructed within Shuri Castle, was subjected to continuous bombardment for 3 days.
The strongest above-ground fortification on Okinawa was Shuri Castle. This medieval structure, with walls more than 5 feet thick, withstood over 25 direct hits from our naval gunfire. The citadel was the keystone of the Shuri defense area, 120 acres of village and barracks installations which were totally destroyed.
Countless treasures housed in Shuri Castle and other historical repositories were either destroyed by fire or stolen. It is only today that we have the opportunity to catch a glimpse of some of these treasures, returned from the United States. Lost treasures may still hold a faint glimmer of hope to be reclaimed, but lives once gone can never return. My waters, once the cradle of life, have now become a battlefield, bearing the weight of endless suffering and destruction, stained by colors I had never known, too harsh to behold. The once clear ocean now pulses with the breath of death.
The staggering number of casualties on both sides reveals the battle's brutality. The US suffered about 20,000 casualties, while Japan lost over 120,000, reflecting the immense toll on both sides.
I could feel the once peaceful Okinawan people being forced to flee from relentless US attacks, while at the same time enduring the brutal oppression of the Japanese forces. In their despair, they were left with no choice but to take up scythes, hoes, or even razors, whether to defend themselves or, tragically, to end their own suffering. What they called collective suicide was, in fact, a massacre that didn't even require others to lift a hand.
On June 22, 1945, the 3-month-long Battle of Okinawa came to an end. Less than 2 months later, on August 15th, Japan announced its unconditional surrender, marking the conclusion of World War II. However, for Okinawa, a new chapter of economic and political turmoil had just begun. The war had devastated local infrastructure, bringing industries such as agriculture and fishing to a near standstill. Many families lost their livelihoods, and the rebuilding process was slow and challenging. Meanwhile, Okinawa fell under US military occupation, with American forces taking control of administrative affairs. The region entered a period of US rule which would shape its future for decades to come.
She asked me, "How do you feel now?" The war ended, leaving only faint ripples on the surface, but the scars stayed raw and unhealed. I watch as nature and humanity press on, resilient as ever, while I drift, still unsure of the road ahead, lost in my own uncertainty.
As time passed, Okinawa became a key strategic point in the Cold War rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. US military bases rapidly expanded, covering much of the island. In the post-war period, Okinawa was no longer just a peripheral province of Japan, but a critical element in the US global military strategy. The people of Okinawa longed for peace and autonomy, yet their future remained ensnared in the vortex of great power rivalry.
I remember being filled with confusion and resentment at that time. I was bewildered by why I had to bear the brunt of all this suffering, and I was indignant at their claims of security protection and revitalization. which in truth were nothing more than a veiled game of carrot and stick.
The presence of US military bases brought about significant economic changes in Okinawa. On the one hand, the large US military presence provided a degree of economic vitality to the region. The consumption needs of military personnel spurred commercial growth, leading to the gradual prosperity of towns surrounding the bases. On the other hand, this dependence on a military-driven economy created challenges for Okinawa. Vast tracts of land were requisitioned, forcing residents to relocate and fundamentally altering their way of life. While the US bases contributed to regional stability during the Cold War, their continued presence also sparked long-standing controversy and protest. The Okinawan people's reliance on the bases was interwoven with deep-seated discontent, creating a complex social sentiment.
She asked me, "Can you hear these notes?" Bases, unknown when they began to encircle me, now cast shadows around. Fear began to grip me. "What notes?" I asked. I tried to seek out the familiar melodies, only to find them drowned out by a different sound. She replied, "I don't know. Some say it is a note of sorrow, faintly tinged with cries and roars. They once likened me to a raped island and called me the island of bases. If the freedom of a land must be bargained with the bodies of countless women, all I can feel is a deepening sorrow. The cries of protest echo in my ears, one after another, never ceasing. Those are the cries and protests from Afar. Another new base is planned. A new battle is about to begin." In this moment, I feel my body being occupied and swallowed once more. My ecosystem suffers immense damage. The land reclamation projects have rendered me murky, and my once proud treasures, the vibrant coral reefs, have dimmed. The fish that once swam freely scatter in fear, and the endangered dugongs face the loss of their cherished habitat. My pain is no longer a mere echo of history, but a tangible, unfolding reality. Protection or destruction? What was claimed as protection has brought endless devastation and encroachment. I feel a deep sense of helplessness. I still choose to resist in the name of peace, placing my hopes in her voice, which longs for peace, hoping it could soothe the soul like a balm. But I don't know what I will rely on next to continue the fight. I asked, how should I find my place, and where should I go? As time passes, those who carry the memories gradually become buried in the memories of the next generation. The generation that has not experienced the pain may have already grown accustomed to the daily presence of the base. Here, different voices of memory exist, raising the question of which memories will be preserved within which collective, and how they will choose to confront these issues.
In the modern landscape, Okinawa, scattered across the western Pacific, boasts the clearest blue oceans and lush subtropical forests. Its white sandy beaches, rich marine life, and unique culinary culture make it a favored destination for both domestic and international tourists. Tourism injects economic vitality and improves the living standards of the local residents, yet the issue of economic monodependency ultimately cannot sustain continuous development. For the people of Okinawa, the future is not solely in the hands of distant decision-makers. They bear the dual responsibility of preserving the past while shaping the future, balancing environmental protection with economic development, safeguarding traditional culture amidst the forces of modernization, and navigating the conflicts between the presence of military bases and local self-governance. These are all challenges that require a new equilibrium. Amidst debates and protests, Okinawa is actively shaping its own future, striving to protect its precious heritage in the tide of modernization. Perhaps the true strength of this land lies not only in its natural resources, but also in the indomitable and enduring spirit of its people.
Time flows like a river, ceaselessly moving forward. Her melody still lingers by my side, a symphony of hope and resilience. Though harsh sounds sometimes fill my world, I know that such tumult will eventually end, and the curtain will fall. And I will remain here, greeting new sunrises and tides, narrating those unfinished tales, and guarding this azure, slender land.